I'll start by just introducing myself real quick. My name is Bjørn. None of you can say that. That's a great thing. I am from Denmark, the happiest country in the world. Happy. We're also known for great design, being Vikings, and having Lego. That's our stuff. Right. I am a marketing manager by education, and I spend my time doing data-driven digital marketing management. I have been using WordPress since forever, since I started playing with the web, straight after I failed at trying to set something up with OS Commerce. Not sure if anybody knows that. I was never good enough at coding, so I had to get creative with the little skills that I had, and that's sort of how I got into the marketing and fiddling and conversion optimization with some stuff that was very basic, starting at a low level. My current job, working at WPCantabria, is amazing team distributed around the world, developing plugins, themes, and service deployments for lots and lots of people, which is fantastic. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the future of where we're going with content marketing, whether or not it's a viable option anymore. We've all heard that content is king, so I want to examine a little bit whether or not that's really the case anymore, and what you can do to create great content that is not being dethroned, and a little bit about how WordPress fits into the new reality there. To begin, let's just define what content is. That's what I'm going to be talking about. So, as I've written here, some examples of content, starting with really basic content, articles, blog posts, white papers, ebooks. You all know people who blog, and this is probably what people think when you say content marketing. You think, this is some text-based stuff, I'm going to do some really intelligent articles, and it's going to get me lots of SEO, and I'm going to get traffic from Google. It's going to be really good. Then there's like a next level where you get into more visual content, a whole new way to consume content, videos, live webinars. Lots of people doing this now. Even the big brands are starting to do really interesting video content and some live webinars. And then there's a level that I think quite a lot of the developers in the audience, if there are any, there's a few, are at, which is free plugin development, doing some application services that you then show people your skill by releasing into the wild and letting them use. And then there's like whole next level stuff. Anybody who's a speaker here, this is content marketing. I'm coming here trying to provide value. It's semi-brand related, but the main point is to provide some value to you guys. It's content marketing. And there's more stuff, like a whole next depth to go to. Probably skipped by a lot of you, but Volvo have done a really interesting piece of content marketing just recently. They had a whole car release. So they released a new vehicle, which was not yet built. They actually had a virtual reality release. So they put headsets on people, they invited them into the office, put headsets on them, and then they sat them down, and they let them explore the car in virtual reality, which is a really... it's a whack way to launch a product, but it's also an interesting aspect of how you can do some interesting content marketing. There's a lot of reasons for doing some content marketing or playing with developing some content. Mostly it's to do with either freemium modeling or hoping that you'll garner some trust in your development of content. You all know that one. And the second reason that it could be is because you just really love to write about or to produce a video about what it is you're interested in, which is a valid reason to do some content also. Not so marketing-y, probably. This is the first thing that pops up on Google if you ask that question. What is content marketing? So the first thing we learn is it's incredibly difficult to understand and slightly boring from that. Strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content. So that's the doing stuff. And the aim of content marketing is to go out, find some specific people, show them your stuff, and really bring them in to pretty much sell them on your business. Ultimately, the way this is laid out, it's sort of text-centric, it's sort of old-fashioned. Content marketing is a lot more than just blogging. It's evolving. You saw the list from before. It used to be transmitting information. Basically, you do the blog articles, you do the ebooks, give people enough info, and they will enjoy coming back, and you'll be able to sell them on something. It's transforming into much more of an interactive experience, providing unique experience for your visitors, the people that you communicate to, rather than just producing and producing and producing, because there is quite a lot of production of content. I invite everybody to find the red pixel on the screen. Just have a look, see if you can see it. Can anybody see it? Nobody can see it. Do some stats. Every day, 1 million hours of video are uploaded to YouTube. Thousands of new mobile apps are released in the App Store. That's just Apple. Imagine Android. Imagine other platforms, new applications, new stuff to do. And 5 million blog posts are put into the world every single day just on WordPress. Now, back to the blue screen. You all know the Retina screen from Apple. There's about 5 million pixels on that screen, and you also, most of you probably know that you can't see 1 pixel. You can't pick it out with your eye. That's exactly how visible you are if you are pushing your average content into the average content landscape. You are one of those 5 million pixels, and that's presuming that you publish every single day. People won't see that. You're going to have to try something new. You're going to have to switch it up if you want to have success. This is a really important question. It's a very important question with your content. If your content is not better than all of the cat videos, all of the leading experts, the top 1,000 TED Talks, and all of the free porn out there on the internet, well then how can you expect people to spend time on you when they're spending time on all of this other stuff? This very important stuff, yeah? Very. So why not just give up? If you write or if you produce video because that's what you love to do, then keep doing it by all means. But if you're trying this to get famous or to get rich or to sell your products, and you really are not better, then it's going to be uphill. So you're going to have to switch something up, you're going to have to change something, have a strategy. Stop writing. Contradictory advice to what most people would say, content marketers. Stop writing if you're average at writing. Do something else. Do free plugins. If you can't do free plugins, team up with somebody who can do free plugins or other interactive experiences for your users. Because otherwise, you are very likely just contributing to the 5 million per day figure, which nobody really cares about. There's probably a top selection there, right? The best people, they get some traffic, they get some info. But otherwise, you just don't. This is just my own little, it's not a statistic or anything, but it's a question of what content types are going down in value and which content types are going up in value. Almost all of the content types that exist, text-based content types, blogs, ebooks, all of that text, more and more people are getting online, more and more people are capable of producing and adding to the noise. Obviously, that simply falls in value. It becomes less valuable, and as the big brands move into new areas, and you all know them, car brands are doing it, all sorts of software development companies are doing it. moving into new content types, video, more interactive, not quite there yet, but these all become less valuable. And the thing about all of them is it's static information. And to be really good with static information, you really have to be the best, if you're trying to earn money. And if you're not the best, then become the best, or stop and mix up your game, do something else. A little bit about the future of the content. People may have heard this before. In the last 2 years, we've produced as much data as we have in all the history of mankind before the 2 years. And that includes like cave paintings and stuff. And we're producing all this data, and it's not going away. Some of it is transient, some people delete stuff, but we're producing a lot of data and it's sticking around, and it's just adding to the amount of information that exists in the world. That says it all. We are experiencing an exponential growth at the moment, which is insane, interesting, poses some whole different challenges I'm not going to talk about here. But it also means, with all this extra information, you have to especially focus on a way that your information is especially valuable. Or again, drop the information. Part of this is realizing that text as a medium, while it seems kind of invincible and like something that is here to stay, books are not going to disappear, window-based information transmission is not going to disappear. I would argue it probably is. As soon as tech becomes a part of us, and as soon as we find more efficient ways to transmit information than just reading. Reading is super slow. It's very exact, but it is super slow. We moved into video because it's faster. We moved into audio because it's faster. And I would argue as soon as we find a way to properly transmit information just from mind to mind, the internet of humans, text as a medium is going to collapse completely. When you can transfer an idea, and if you're one of the people that just has like a huge content base, a massive website with lots of valuable articles, well, if people stop reading those because they can now transfer ideas easily, then you no longer have any business. And it sounds like something that's going to be like 20 years in the future, but a lot of these things are going to happen a lot faster than we think. A little bit about where WordPress sits in all of this. These are paid systems, take no notice. These are ways that you can use WordPress, that some people are using WordPress, to step outside of the text-based framework and provide some value that's not just informational. I'm going to move away from this because you guys can still hear me, right? No, all the way down the back you can still hear me. That's perfect. Great. We have up top onlybodyweight.com.
In the video they will not hear you. That's right.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm back for you guys. All right. Fair enough. Good call. Only Bodyweight is a web-based application. They're coming with a mic for me. It's beautiful. Yeah. Only Bodyweight is a web-based application, specialized training package. It's based on WordPress in the back end. It's just going to work. Nice. Yo, MC. Okay. It transforms you. Okay. Right. It's a web-based app which generates training programs based on a lot of content that they have in their database in the WordPress backend. But the user never ever experiences this. They log on, they see a custom graphic interface, and they're provided with information based on what they've asked for in their communication with this interface. I don't do graphics, so I'm just going to move on to the next one. Happy Tables, I think a few of you might know Happy Tables. Possibly. Nice, somebody does. Great. For those of you who don't know, basically the world's easiest way to create a website if you have a restaurant specifically. They handle, again, they use WordPress as the backend, and again, the client, the end user, never ever sees this. They interact with WordPress without ever realizing it, and they create their front-facing site. And it's an example of how WordPress is not just a content management system for you. It's also a way that you can provide an application layer and provide something special to clients through that. Another example, trainers with the Russian domain name. Again, basically the same. If you're a personal trainer, you can interact with this application. You can create your own special space on the web. And trainers are providing value through WordPress. And on another layer, each individual personal trainer that sets something up is also providing value for WordPress. Finally, there's Upfront, which is our product, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, so it doesn't turn into a sales pitch. But it's, think of it as the Photoshop of WordPress site builders. Everything is on the front end, everything is graphical, and you have a depth of control as a user that you just are not used to and do not experience with other WordPress editing experiences. It transforms WordPress from a text base to a drag and drop, very visual experience for the user. And again, these are all, now I have two. I'm not sure what to do with this one. Now there are, these are all commercial applications, right? But you can still easily provide this level of value within, probably not as in-depth, but you can experiment with WordPress to create something that's different from just the regular publishing schedule, the regular, we need to get traffic, we need to have a conversion rate, we need to optimize that conversion rate. You can move away from this if you think of content in a different way, if you sort of try to change the paradigm that you are in with content. It doesn't have to be text. It doesn't have to be boring. There you go. Basically, the answer to the question at the beginning is if you think of content as this, I have to blog or I have to write valuable articles, then yes, your content is dying or dead unless you are at the very, very peak of your field, or unless you are providing, and you don't have to be at the peak of like the most intelligent person in the world, you just have to be at the cutting edge of your own field, but that's still very difficult unless you very, very narrowly define your field. There is no average content in the future. Not if you want to get the traffic, not if you want to have the paying users. And that brings me to what should you do? Now, you have three options. You have two options if you want to succeed and get big. You can get really, really, really good at what you do. I'm assuming you all know those three logos. I think you all do. You should. They're very, very famous because they're very, very good at what they do. Buffer, you know them from, I'm not sure what you would know them for, but they are social media scheduling. But apart from this, they have the most valuable communication and content strategy ever. They've gotten very, very, very good at communicating with their specific users. They spend a lot of their time and their budget learning and providing value to the same sort of people that would use their product. Not necessarily anybody else, but businesses looking to schedule their social media. And the only reason they succeed is because they are the best at what they do, the best at their communication. They sort of trampled Hootsuite and the others just by being very, very, very good at what they do. Same with Moz. It took them a while. It takes a long time to get that good. They started in, I think, did they start in 2000? They've been going for 14, 15 years. And probably in the last 5 years, possibly 5 years, they've gotten enough traction. They've gotten smart enough to really be the best at what they do. They have the software built. They have the communication going. They're very, very smart. You all know Rand Fishkin, probably. They've used the personal brand there to get really good at what they do. Same with HubSpot. For marketers like me, probably not as applicable to everybody in the room, but for marketers, it's the, if you get something, if you get an email from HubSpot, or if you go to HubSpot, they have extensive resources, and they are, while they're not a perfect fit marketing strategy for your setup, they are as good as you're going to get for a pre-filled template. Now that's the classical how you do content marketing. You get really, really good. Now what I would suggest, which is somewhat easier to manage with smaller amounts of resources, even though Red Bull is up there, but we'll get to that. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of cash to get really, really good. It might not take as much for you to change your format. Now, probably everybody knows Red Bull's action videos. Some awesome, awesome, awesome sound. Right. You probably all know their action videos, their extreme sports. You've probably all seen the Stratos, where they threw a man out of space. Insane. They're not writing articles, is the point. Now, they probably could have. They probably could have gotten really, really good at providing text-based value to people who like energy drinks if they'd spent time writing down that strategy, planning it. That's writing, yeah. But instead, they spent time doing something awesome. They mixed it up. They put their logo on everything. They do amazing action video sponsorships, kind of the same as GoPro. You've all seen those as well, I'm assuming. It's a result of mixing it up. Not sure how many people know Mobility WOD. Kind of more niche and smaller. This is just one guy, small team around him, but one guy who decided, he's a doctor in physiology, I think, CrossFit trainer, expert in how the body works. The regular way for these people to communicate is they do white papers, and then they hand off like a 40-page article on the optimal movement in the knee or something. And as the end user, somebody who's using their body, you're not going to read those, even though it's very valuable content. You would know everything about your knee when you're done. It'd be amazing. But you're not going to read it. You're not going to spend the time to read it because it's too much. It's too much. So instead, the project that he undertook was once every single day for a whole year, he's going to do a video. And these were short videos. They were 3 to 6 minutes in the beginning. They got a little bit longer. A video about how some part of the body works in the training connection, and how to alleviate pain or how to become more mobile in a joint through different stretches and using bands and small rubber balls, stuff like that. Very, very simple for him, and actually not cutting edge in any way. The same advice you would receive from any physiotherapist. But because he changed his format, he communicated in a different way. He didn't do any massive marketing push. He just provided this value as an experiment, and it caught on. And now, probably as a base on that, we were chatting about that the other day actually, but San Francisco CrossFit has now expanded globally, and that is probably in large part due to the personal brand and the enormous influx of cash that came from doing the Mobility WOD project. Because then when you have this amazing content, it was very, very easy for him after the year to say, well, now we're going to do a premium subscription where you can get more in-depth if this caught your attention. And finally, an example from back home, Martin Thorborg is a Danish entrepreneur. Now, he was always very, very much in touch with his audience, and the way he provided value was to make sure to get back to everybody who wrote to him, and really try to help them with their questions or provide some extra value that he saw in their business. And like thousands of people contacting him per year, and he was just replying and providing value to everybody. It turns out, combined with doing lots of business, it was actually too much for his fingers, and this, they stopped working. They got all stiff, and he couldn't type replies to people. Probably was a little bit ill as well, you know. But his response, instead of just stopping and just giving up and saying, oh, I'm just going to have to pay somebody to do business and stop replying, he got creative. He booted up SoundCloud, and instead of replying in text, I'm assuming you all know what SoundCloud is, but he did tiny little audio replies instead, 30 seconds to 4 minutes, very short, very easy to consume, and got back to his users, but he got back to his the people who asked him questions in this way. And he has probably the strongest personal brand, and he's not the richest, because rich families and stuff, but he has had an enormous amount of success based on this permanent content. Even though it's created in a transient way, it's created to answer one specific question. And it's a result of the changing format. Because while you can't share, you probably could, but it wouldn't be very nice to share an email that you reply to somebody. As soon as you record it and put it online and just link them to it and say, this is the reply, then they have a much, much easier and more incentivized way to then share the content, and other people can use the information also. And the final option, which is, it sounds horrible, to accept your mediocre destiny, is not meant as an evil thing to say to you guys. But if you write because that's what you love to do, then obviously I'm not asking you to stop writing those things. And even if I did, the people who write and who communicate because they are passionate about what they do often have a way of gaining traction. You can see it in Mobility World, you can see it in what Martin Thorborg does. I would argue that the reason they've experienced extreme success and extreme traction is because they changed the format. But even if you don't change the format, people, you can form a connection online. You all know this. You can form the connection with a smaller user base who are in sync with your way of communicating, your way of thinking. And that is enough for some people. But you likely will not explode based on this. So if that's what you want, then find a way to do that. Secrets. The new path is either you get really good, cutting edge expertise, you change your format, you try something different, you do some audio communication, which is phone communication, or you do some video. All of the developers in here have the capacity to develop small, efficient, effective little plugins or extra little widgets for WordPress. Once you start doing that and providing value through that, you won't up your conversion rates on your site, but you will build a personal brand or a business brand which allows you to create a platform for yourself, for your content marketing. And that's the advice. That's what you should do. That says 1 minute, but I'm done. Right. Now you're supposed to ask questions. You have a question? Can we like throw the mic? It's still okay.
Okay, so thanks for the talk. First of all, I wanted to ask you why you say you're Danish when it's clear you're British, but sorry, just the accent thing. Are you involved with the newsletter, The Weep? It's from your company, right?
Yeah,
WHIP. Because when you were talking about like changing the format or the attitude of the content, it made me think about it, because I hate newsletters, but I actually do read that one. So maybe that's a case in point of what you were saying. I just wanted to know if you had consciously applied these strategies.
Actually, that was actually before my time at WPMUDev. That was some of the other very bright minds who decided, as a conscious thing, like we have we have a very large regular newsletter, but in order to sort of break a segment off and to communicate in a more personal way and a different way to people, for sure that was the idea behind doing the whip. Yeah.
Well, I just want to give you a thumbs up on that, because at least for me, it's working. I like that it kind of embraced the WP drama instead of looking it over or just ignoring the fact that it's there.
Yeah.
I like it.
Glad. Appreciate that.
Yeah, about the tracking the success of release of free plugin or theme. How do you recommend, or how's the right way to track the success of releasing something free?
I would say, and I am a data person as well, that obviously the most efficient way is to actually add usage tracking and stuff to the plugin. People probably won't like this. I believe the repository also won't like this, the free repository on .org. A way that you can not get around it, but a way that you can work around and work with this is, instead of adding usage tracking, you can add just referral tracking. How much are people coming out to your site? How much are people leaving reviews? And basically you would define the performance metrics. Obviously you have to have a goal when you release a plugin. You can't just release, push 15 plugins that haven't got any real purpose. So align them with the overall content strategy, decide what function are they supposed to perform, and make sure that they have stuff that you can track. So links back to relevant parts of your site with proper parameters and stuff that you can track in your analytics programs. And then see, did we get where we wanted to go? It's basically a question of defining the goal, making sure that you do track the goal, and then you follow up afterwards. Yeah.
Good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Amazing talk. And I got repressed, right? I thank you for you. Thank you for it. Because most of my clients are media companies, and what you say about content implies, as I see it, that their model, that their business is going to be dead in a few years, because every day is more expensive to produce great content to get out of the noise. Yeah. So there's a lot of people working on that and trying to figure out how to save the industries. But do you think they're going to survive? Are you going to change something like this?
Which type of media company? Like traditional publishing?
Well, some on TV channels, newspapers, this kind of stuff.
Almost a whole different subject, but newspapers, yes, dying. Most of them, I'm not sure if it's most of them, but yeah, I would go and say most of them are already dead. They've already disappeared. Partially because of how advertising has become, it's just not relevant anymore. You can't advertise. You can't just power your way out of it anymore. So they've lost their way to earn money, basically. And also, at the same time, they've kept their format and they've tried to defend it, like protect their format from the world instead of working out how they can fit into the world. And that is always a tactic that's doomed to fail. You can't. it's like trying to stop the tide, right? Trying to prevent the world from changing. It doesn't make sense. Not to say that they couldn't still do it, especially if they already have moved into online and different digital productions, if they're not physical, and not only on transmission waves. They still have the option, and they still have the means. I mean, they still have lots of money. And they still have the means to transform the way they create value for people. But right now, media is broadcasting, and that is dying. Yes.
Well, thank you very much to open my eyes to something that a few minutes after listening to you seems very obvious, but it makes me feel like I was stupid 30 minutes ago.
Appreciate that. Thank you.